The most dangerous narcissist isn't the one screaming and throwing plates across the kitchen,
No, absolutely not.
right? It's not the arrogant CEO demanding the spotlight and belittling his staff in front of everyone. No, the most dangerous narcissist is the one crying on your couch.
Yeah.
They are speaking in a quiet, patient, devastatingly calm tone, and they are expertly, flawlessly convincing you that, well, that you are the abuser.
It is absolutely chilling to witness in practice, because by the time they are crying on that couch, you are the one frantically apologizing for a crime you didn't even commit, and your body is in absolute physical distress.
Welcome to the debate. That chilling, deeply confusing scenario is exactly what we are unpacking today.
We're exploring the hidden psychological labyrinth of covert narcissism.
Exactly. We're looking at a pathology that leaves no visible bruises, but, systematically dismantles a person's entire reality. And the central question we are debating today is how we, both clinicians and targets, should fundamentally understand this disorder.
Right. Where is the core of the issue?
Yes, is the defining core of covert narcissism the calculated predatory mechanics of power masked as fragility? Or is it the insidious neurobiological destruction of the victim's reality? I approach this as a behavior profiler, and I will be arguing that we must expose the precise, calculated mechanics of a stealth predator who actively weaponizes pity and passive aggression to gain absolute control.
And coming from the perspective of a trauma-informed clinician, I will be arguing that dissecting the abuser's playbook only gets us so far.
Okay.
The true nature of this pathology is best understood through the profound emotional and neurobiological reality distortion inflicted upon the victim's nervous system. I mean, if we don't understand the physical hijacking of the target, we miss the entire reality of the disorder.
Well, let's lay out exactly what we are dealing with from a behavioral standpoint first. Because covert narcissism is fundamentally a stealth power grab. Dr. Eleanor Greenberg refers to these individuals as closet narcissists, which is frankly a perfect operational term. They harbor the exact same deep, insatiable grandiosity and entitlement as the guy bragging at the head of the boardroom table.
The core pathology is identical.
It is, but they mask it. They package that superiority under a shy, highly sensitive, depressed, or vulnerable persona. They operate using a framework of chronic victimhood. It is gold medal sympathy seeking.
Wow. Yeah.
And we have to be brutally honest about this. That display of tears on the couch, that isn't genuine emotional pain or a mere lack of coping skills. It is a highly effective predatory strategy. Wait, look at how they use pity. They extract narcissistic supply, they drain the target's emotional and physical resources, and they secure absolute dominance in the relationship without ever looking like the bad guy.
Right. It's the weaponization of fragility.
Exactly.
I hear your focus on the mechanics of the abuser, and, the behavioral pattern is undeniably there. But focusing primarily on the narcissist's intent misses the absolute devastation of the victim's reality.
How so?
Well, we have to look at the psychological wreckage left behind to truly understand the sheer gravity of this abuse. If we analyze this through the lens of Stephen Porges's polyvagal theory, we can see exactly how this works under the surface.
Okay, break that down for us.
So, the victim's body, their neuroception, which is the brain and body's subconscious threat detection system, it registers a chronic, low-level threat in the home. The nervous system inherently knows it is in danger.
But they stay anyway.
Yes, because the thinking brain constantly overrides those bodily alarms. And why? Because the abuse is deliberately packaged as love and concern. The true hallmark of covert narcissism isn't just the clever manipulation, it's the resulting complex trauma.
Right.
It is the terrifying cognitive dissonance. It's the visceral daily feeling of walking on eggshells while slowly just losing your own identity and your grip on objective reality.
Let's get right into the mechanics of that reality distortion, specifically covert gaslighting, because it is vital that we don't treat this as just, a severe communication breakdown.
Oh, definitely not.
I refer to this specific behavioral tactic as the sympathetic guise. Think about how a grandiose narcissist gaslights. They do it through sheer dominance. They tell you you're crazy, they deny facts, and they yell it loud enough to force your submission.
Right, it's overt.
Exactly. But the covert narcissist gaslights through woundedness. They give you this heavy sigh, this look of patient disappointment. You bring up a valid concern, and they look at you softly and say, you're taking this way too personally again. Or, I'm genuinely worried about your mental state lately. You've been so on edge. That is not a partner expressing concern. That is a calculated micro-insult designed to rewrite facts, invalidate your memory, and maintain their position of supreme intellectual and moral authority. They are hacking your empathy.
That is so true.
To use an analogy, covert gaslighting is like someone secretly altering your eyeglass prescription over a period of 5 years. Every day, the world gets a tiny bit blurry, but they keep telling you the lighting in the house is just bad. By the end, you are entirely dependent on them to read the map.
Sighs deeply. That eyeglass analogy. This is exactly what trips victims up.
Yeah?
It is so deeply frustrating to untangle clinically because the abuse genuinely looks and sounds like care, and the physical destruction of the victim's reality is absolute.
I can imagine.
You have highly intelligent, highly driven women. We are talking about trial lawyers, surgeons, C-suite executives who are reduced to keeping 47-page secret password-protected documents on their laptops just to prove their own sanity to themselves.
Oh, wow.
They are hiding their phones in potted plants to secretly record mundane kitchen conversations because they literally cannot trust their own memories anymore.
That's terrifying.
It is, and here is why that happens. Because the gaslighting is delivered through this lens of woundedness, the victim's brain does something terrifying. The default mode network, the network in the brain responsible for your continuous autobiographical sense of self, actually begins to suppress its own signals.
Wait, let's pause on that for a second because that is a terrifying concept. I have to admit, as a behavioral profiler, I sometimes struggle with the neurobiology argument here.
Okay, why is that?
Well, if a highly intelligent executive, someone whose entire career is built on logic and objective fact-finding, is being gaslit, why doesn't her logical brain just override the emotional manipulation? Help me understand the physical mechanism that actually blocks her from seeing the trap. Why would her own brain suppress its identity?
Because the brain prioritizes survival and connection over objective accuracy every single time.
Really?
Yes. Evolutionary biology dictates that isolation from the tribe or, from your primary attachment figure is a death sentence. So when the narcissist frames their gaslighting as "I am so worried about you," the victim's brain is thrown into a massive conflict. The logical brain says, wait, I didn't say that. This is a lie. But the attachment system says, if I call him a liar, I lose the attachment. And if I lose the attachment, I die.
Wow.
So to resolve that profound cognitive dissonance, the brain physically alters how it processes information. It shuts down the default mode network to quiet the victim's own internal narrative. It is essentially the brain deciding, I will sacrifice my own memory and my own reality to keep this relationship intact because my body believes I need this person to survive.
That's incredible.
Right? It's not a logical failing on the victim's part. It is a neurobiological survival mechanism executing flawlessly.
I appreciate you breaking down the physical mechanism, and I see the profound trauma there. But I see why you think that, and let me give you a different perspective.
Go ahead.
If we only look at the victim's suppressed neural networks and their survival instincts, we risk giving the narcissist a pass on their behavior. We start to act as if the narcissist is just, stumbling through the dark, accidentally triggering these biological responses with their own unhealed wounds.
I wouldn't say accidentally.
But I am telling you, the covert narcissist knows exactly what they are doing. They are deliberately engineering that environment. When the victim's brain is scrambling to make sense of the situation, the narcissist isn't a passive observer, they actively exploit it.
How so?
Think about what happens when you try to confront them with a legitimate issue. They don't engage with the issue. They immediately redirect to how much you've hurt them by bringing it up. They say, I guess I'm just the worst partner in the world. That's not depression, that's weaponized guilt.
Oh, absolutely.
It is a tactical, evasive maneuver to avoid accountability while keeping the victim entirely off balance.
Well, I'm certainly not giving them a pass on the behavior, but I am saying that focusing on whether this is a conscious, Machiavellian master plan or a deeply ingrained, rigid defense mechanism doesn't change the outcome.
Fair point.
The fact remains that the victim's reality is physically crumbling. The victim is continuously trying to apply professional, logical problem solving to a relational dynamic that isn't built on logic, it's built on power.
But that suppression of reality doesn't just happen in a vacuum. The narcissist actively forces that suppression through behavioral withdrawal.
Yes, they do.
When the victim tries to apply that logical problem solving, how does the narcissist respond? They drop the temperature in the room to freezing. Let's expose the darker side of this, the silent treatment and passive aggression. When you set a firm boundary with a covert narcissist, they don't scream. They go totally cold. They use the silent treatment and they use weaponized incompetence, enthusiastically agreeing to handle the mortgage or the kid's doctor's appointments, and then chronically forgetting or doing it so disastrously poorly that the victim is forced to step in and rescue the situation.
Which is exhausting.
Exactly. And going cold isn't about the narcissist needing space to regulate their emotions, which is the excuse they love to use when they get dragged into couples therapy. It is a calculated, nonverbal withdrawal deployed specifically to punish the victim for daring to hold them accountable.
Yeah.
Think about the quiet contempt, the subtle, perfectly timed eye roll, the ambient disapproval that hangs like a toxic fog in the house. It establishes the narcissist as the ultimate authority, sitting in judgment of the victim from a throne of victimhood.
It is just absolute bone-deep exhaustion dealing with these people. But we have to shift the focus to the neurobiology of the trauma bond here.
Okay.
When they use that silent treatment, the victim isn't just annoyed. The victim's body responds as if it's experiencing a literal survival threat. If we look at Helen Fisher's research on romantic love in the brain, this unpredictable oscillation between warmth, the initial love-bombing phase, and this cold, contemptuous withdrawal creates what we call intermittent reinforcement.
Like a slot machine.
Well, let's avoid the cliché of comparing this to a slot machine. A better way to understand this is to imagine the victim as a scuba diver, and the narcissist holds the oxygen tank.
Okay, I like that.
Most of the time, the air flows normally, but suddenly, without warning, the narcissist pinches the hose. The diver begins to panic, kicking, thrashing, experiencing the terror of suffocation.
Right.
Then, right before the diver passes out, the narcissist lets go of the hose. The rush of oxygen feels like the most profound relief, the most incredible high. The diver doesn't realize the person saving their life is the same person who is suffocating them.
Wow.
That is the trauma bond. The nervous system becomes biologically addicted to the relief that comes when the narcissist finally warms up and speaks to them again. That is why leaving a covert narcissist feels like literal drug withdrawal.
That oxygen analogy is incredibly potent. But don't you see the calculation in pinching the hose? The narcissist controls the air supply.
They do.
They know exactly what they are doing when they restrict it. They know that if they freeze you out long enough, if they let you thrash and panic in that silent house for 3 days, you will eventually come crawling back, apologizing for bringing up the issue in the first place, just to get the air flowing again. They are actively conditioning the victim. They are training the target to stop asking for accountability.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that entirely. I have to stop you there.
Why not?
Because if we focus solely on the narcissist as this mastermind administering punishment, we ignore the visceral, somatic terror the victim is feeling in that moment. The person who is supposed to be their safe harbor, their primary attachment figure, has become a source of ambient, unpredictable danger.
True, but
The victim isn't sitting on the couch analyzing the narcissist's tactical behavioral genius. Their nervous system is screaming at them to restore the bond at all costs because, again, the body equates isolation from the attachment figure with death.
right.
That is why they capitulate. Not because they were out-chess-matched by a master manipulator, but because they are neurobiologically hijacked. They apologize to stop the physical pain of the withdrawal.
And that physical hijacking, that exact moment of desperation you just described, is the perfect fertile ground for their ultimate manipulation tactic.
You mean Darvo?
Yes. What happens when the victim, despite the terror, finally gathers the strength to confront the abuser about the 3-day silent treatment? What does the covert narcissist do? They deploy Darvo, deny, attack, reverse victim, and defender.
Yeah.
And covert narcissists are the undisputed heavyweight champions of this tactic. They deliver an apology that is actually a devastating accusation. They will look at you with tear-filled eyes, their voice trembling, and say, "I am so sorry that my mental health struggles make you feel this way." Or, "I'm sorry I'm just such a terrible, inadequate partner to you. I can't do anything right."
Oh, the self-flagellation. It is infuriating, and it works almost every single time.
It is a flawless evasion of accountability. Let's unpack the why behind Darvo, because it is a masterclass in overloading human cognition.
Right, the working memory overload.
Exactly. When a person brings up a grievance, their working memory is focused on the facts of that grievance. By reversing the offender, by suddenly making themselves the wounded party, the narcissist introduces a massive, entirely new emotional variable.
Yeah.
They flood the victim's working memory. The victim's brain simply cannot process their original grievance and the sudden, intense emotional crisis of the crying narcissist simultaneously.
It's too much data.
So the brain drops the original grievance to handle the immediate crisis. You walk into the room on a Wednesday night to calmly address the fact that they ignored you for 3 days. And 20 minutes later, you are sitting on the edge of the bed, rubbing their back, comforting them for how profoundly inadequate you made them feel by bringing it up.
It's tragic.
It is predatory. They secure the power, they get the massive narcissistic supply of your soothing and attention, and they absolutely never have to answer for their behavior.
I agree completely on the mechanics of Darvo and how it overloads the working memory. But we have to illuminate the tragic result of this, which is what we clinically call the good girl override.
The good girl override.
Yes, this specific tactic doesn't work on everyone. It specifically exploits the deep-seated conditioning of highly driven, successful, often perfectionistic women.
Interesting.
These are women who have been culturally and professionally trained their entire lives to overfunction, to anticipate needs, to take total responsibility for outcomes, and to absorb the ambient guilt in any room they walk into.
Right.
So when the narcissist collapses on the couch and says, "I'm sorry I'm just such a burden to you," the driven woman's programming automatically kicks in. Her brain says, "I need to fix this poorly. I need to try harder. I need to be more empathetic."
She applies her incredible professional competence to a completely rigged game.
Exactly. She brings all her problem-solving skills to a partner who doesn't want the problem solved, they want the power. And it results in this terrifying fractured split identity.
Yeah.
You have a woman who can run a hospital emergency department, who can handle mass casualty events with a steady hand, or who can make million-dollar executive decisions without flinching. Her professional self is entirely intact and formidable.
But at home?
But she pulls into her driveway at home and she sits in her car for 20 minutes, staring at the steering wheel, absolutely terrified to walk through her own front door. She is completely hollowed out. Inside that house, she is constantly apologizing for things she can't even remember doing. Her relational self has been systematically neurobiologically dismantled by someone who claims to love her more than anyone else in the world.
That staggering contrast, that split identity you just painted so vividly, is exactly why I relentlessly advocate for looking at this through the lens of a predator-prey dynamic.
I see that.
Lundy Bancroft, in his groundbreaking work on controlling men, describes this specific type of abuser as the water torturer. They rarely raise their voice. They are always calm, always reasonable sounding, always maintaining that veneer of the nice guy to the outside world.
Always.
But they use that impenetrable calm to make the victim feel like they are the one who is unstable, hysterical, or abusive. To defeat a covert narcissist, we must coldly, objectively dissect them. We have to strip away the powerful illusion of their fragility and see them for what they truly are.
Right.
Stealth predators who calculatedly use pity, micro-insults, weaponized incompetence, and manufactured crises to secure power and drain their targets. I mean, if you keep looking at their tears as real, genuine pain, you will drown in them. You have to recognize the mechanics of the trap to step out of it.
And I maintain that the ultimate truth of covert narcissism is found not in the abuser's tactics, but in the victim's nervous system.
Okay.
You can dissect the abuser all day long. You can read every book on manipulation tactics. But healing doesn't come from just understanding the narcissist playbook. Healing comes from understanding the invisible, somatic red flags your own body was sending you for years while your brain was overriding them.
That makes sense.
It comes from recognizing the chronic hypervigilance, the sudden spikes of cortisol when you hear the garage door open, the deep somatic anxiety, and the neurochemically driven trauma bond. You have to understand and accept that your brain's reality testing apparatus was literally compromised under the weight of that intermittent reinforcement.
Yeah.
To truly break free, you don't just need intellectual clarity about their behavior. You need profound somatic healing to unhook your nervous system from the person who controlled your oxygen supply for so long.
I think this is where our perspectives brilliantly collide, because the reality is you cannot truly understand the hidden world of covert narcissism without recognizing both of these fundamental truths.
I agree.
You absolutely have to see the precise, predatory, entitled mechanics of the abuser, the calculated use of Darvo, the weaponized silence to punish boundaries, the sympathetic guise used to slowly alter your eyeglass prescription over the years.
And simultaneously, you have to understand the devastating, reality-altering neurobiology of the victim.
Absolutely. If you are listening to this and realizing your confusing, exhausting relationship actually follows a predictable clinical playbook, that is a deeply jarring realization. It is heavy, but you have to forgive yourself for staying because you realize your nervous system was hijacked by someone actively exploiting your deepest capacity for empathy and care.
Right. It wasn't a failure of intelligence. It was your biology trying to keep you safe.
We approach this dark pathology from different sides of the clinical coin, but our shared goal is exactly the same: providing absolute clarity for those who are currently trapped in the fog, constantly wondering if they are the crazy ones.
Yeah.
There is so much more to explore within the clinical literature on coercive control, complex trauma, and personality disorders. We deeply encourage you to keep reading, to keep learning the mechanics.
And most importantly, to start reflecting on the physical reality of your own relationships. If you feel like you are constantly walking on eggshells, if you are secretly keeping a list of facts on your phone just to prove your own memory to yourself, trust that feeling in your gut.
Yes,
Firmly, unapologetically trust your own perceptions.
you are not losing your mind. Because remember, the most dangerous narcissist isn't the one screaming at you from across the room. It's the one crying quietly on your couch, patiently, meticulously waiting for you to hand over your reality.